In the last 14, 15 months, I can think of at least 11 people that were pretty close to me who have died. Only one died of COVID, and the rest of them just varied circumstances, some young, some old, but just a lot of death. And I've talked to people who've had that same experience. We've all lost loved ones recently, and sometimes painfully and tragically, sometimes because of COVID, other times certainly not. And we all live in that knowledge that our life here is limited, that all of us suffer a death sentence, that one day we will take our last breath, we will close our eyes, we will grow cold, and we will never be in this life again. That's a morbid thought that most of us spend most of our time trying to avoid, and yet there is no avoidance of death. The liberating message of Jesus manifested in today's gospel, in the raising of Jairus' daughter from death, is that he is the Lord of life, and he has definitively conquered the power of death forever. We still suffer death. We still come to the end of our limited mortal days and pass over to that mystery. But because of Jesus' death on the cross and his resurrection, the meaning of death has been radically transformed for us. Rather than being the end of all things, it indeed is the beginning of our eternal life, if we are faithful to God. Rather than simply being the termination of everything as we know it to be, is it not the culmination of everything that we have sought to live as it's gathered up to the Lord? So the Lord has walked through this valley of death. He has carved out a path for us. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and we have the promise of eternal life. In that regard, immortality in this life would be an unbelievable burden for us. Imagine realizing that you're going to live here forever. Who would want to do that? I wouldn't. And I talk to many elderly people that say to me, why am I still here? I'm ready to go to the Lord. And I always say to them, no matter the condition of your life, there's two things you can always do. You can always love God and others, and you can always pray. So we are here to love and to pray and to prepare for the glory of eternal life. So death with its sadness can still break our hearts. We still feel the absence of people that are close to us. Once in a while I drive past the house I grew up in with my family, and in one sense I would be so happy to be able to drive up there and walk in the door and find my parents there, with supper on the table. But they are gone from this life forever, but they did what they were supposed to do here, and I would not wish them back for their sake, certainly. So the urgency of death makes us realize that in the brevity of this life, we only have this moment of now to respond to God and to become saints. Death then becomes the frame around the picture that limits our days and yet opens us up to the possibilities of grace. So meditate on death, not in a morbid way, but as a way to remind us that this life is fragile, this life is limited, and we're called to live in this sacramental moment of now in our urgency to convert to the Lord and to become saints.